In programming, we have this concept called nested loops. So we can put one loop inside of another loop, and with this, we can get some interesting results. Let me show you. So I'm going to start with this loop for x in range 5, colon. Now, inside of this loop, I'm going to add another loop. So for y in range 3, colon. And then in our second loop, I'm going to add a print statement. Here we can use formatted strings to display coordinates. Remember formatted strings? So we have f followed by quotes. Now here we add parentheses for our coordinates. First, we want to display x and then comma followed by y. Let's run this program and see what happens. There you go. Pretty cool, isn't it? So we get 0 and 0, 0 and 1, 0 and 2. Then we get 1 and 0, 1 and 1, 1 and 2, and so on. Now let me explain how exactly Python interpreter executes this code. So here we have two loops. This is what we call the outer loop, and this is the inner loop. So the execution of our program starts here. In the first iteration of this loop, x is 0. Now we get to this statement, which is a child of this for statement because it's indented 4 times. This statement itself is a loop. So what we have inside of this loop will be executed 3 times. In the first iteration, x is 0 because we're still in the first iteration of the outer loop. And y is also 0 because we're in the first iteration of the inner loop. That is why we get 0 and 0. Now we go to the second iteration of this inner loop. In this iteration, y will be 1, whereas x is still 0. That is why we get 0 and 1. And similarly, in the third iteration of our inner loop, we'll get 0 and 2 in the terminal. Now we're done with the execution of the inner loop, so the control moves back to our outer loop. Here will be in the second iteration, so x will be 1, and then we start here again. So we have to execute this inner loop 3 times. In the first iteration, y will be 0 and x is 1. So here we have 1 and 0, then we'll get 1 and 1 and 1 and 2. You got the point. So this is all about nested loops.